the U.S. and Iran have paused strikes after 13 straight days of attacks. Regional sources tell CBS News there's been progress in diplomatic talks on the Strait of Hormuz. Omani officials were in Tehran over the weekend for discussions. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz told Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan that the pause was aimed at, quote, giving diplomacy some space.
He is a president of peace. He is giving diplomacy a chance. We'll see over the next coming days. But make no mistake, assets, additional military assets are moving into the region. They should believe the president. The regime should believe the president when he says they're locked and loaded, and all options are on the table.
CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata has the latest from Amman, Jordan.
Over the weekend here in Jordan and across the region, people were bracing for a major U.S. attack and then the inevitable retaliation from Iran. That didn't happen. Both sides abruptly held fire. Why? Two reasons. First of all, sources tell CBS News that Iran and Oman, two countries that share that Strait of Hormuz, are currently in talks at reopening that strait, and those talks are reportedly making progress. Another possible reason, the U.S. has been burning through munitions like interceptors faster than they can be replenished. This is important. Pentagon also reported a big jump in the number of U.S. casualties since the war began, raising it to more than 600. But they also put the 4 soldiers killed recently under a new category called overseas operations instead of the war against Iran. That's called Operation Epic Fury because they were killed after the ceasefire went into effect, according to the Pentagon. So now we're in a wait and see whether those talks make progress or fighting resumes. Back to you.
Charlie in Amman, Jordan. Thank you. Let's jump to CBS News politics reporter Kathryn Watson. She's in our D.C. bureau tracking all of this. Kathryn, good morning once again. As we've seen, Adriana has mentioned this as a bit of a Groundhog's Day or deja vu. The president threatens attacks, massive attacks, but also says he wants Iran to make a deal. What is the strategic input the president is receiving that is making him now say, let's pause for the weekend?
Throughout most of this war, the president has been saying Iran wants a deal, but with few indications that Iran is actually serious about that. The president hoped this military operation would be swift, like Venezuela, that it would be wrapped up by now. That obviously hasn't turned out to be the case. We're in this pause and strikes right now where Iran and Oman are talking about reopening the strait, talking about the mechanics of that. And regional sources told CBS News those talks are making progress. But as you heard from Charlie just moments ago, there are other considerations here about how much equipment the U.S. has to be able to continue at the pace that it has been going at. Mike Waltz, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, said the thinking from the administration is this pause will give time and space for diplomacy to happen. But as he also mentioned, those U.S. military assets are ready to go into the region, and that people should always believe the president when he says he's ready to resume attacks at any moment.
I hope diplomacy sticks this time around because we've been here so many times before. Let's talk about what the American people are thinking, because fresh CBS News polling finds that 65% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the war. Has he reacted to that, and how are lawmakers reacting?
Yeah, CBS News polling released over the weekend to go through some of these numbers shows Americans are uncertain about the war and they're frustrated. 76% of Americans said the war has been harder than the Trump administration expected. And in that poll, people also listed reopening the Strait of Hormuz and normalizing oil access at the top of their list of concerns about the war, even above stopping Iran's nuclear program. Let's listen to Senator Bernie Sanders on what the conflict in the Middle East is doing to gas prices.
Let's stop the devastation to our economy, which is raising gas prices all across the board. That's what we've got to do. Sit down, negotiate. Let's end this war.
Just cut the losses where they are.
Yes.
That would be a huge, huge mistake. I don't think we ought to just cut and run. If we can stand the pain of the rising cost of energy, we need to stay the course, at least for a few more months.
The possibility of a few more months might not be what Americans want to hear, but polling shows it is what Americans are expecting. In that CBS News polling we mentioned, only 9% of Americans said they think this conflict will end in days or weeks. Errol and Adriana.
All right, Kathryn Watson, thank you so much.